You're here. Welcome to the Masterminding Success podcast. They say if you want to be successful in business and in life, then surround yourself with successful people. So pull up a seat. The mastermind is about to begin.
Hey, glad you could join us for another episode of the Masterminding Success podcast. We're your host, Keith Wheeler.
And Nuria Corby.
And what are we talking about today, Nuria?
Today's another interesting topic, and it's running an online business with kids.
Yes, and we thought what better thing? Yeah, I figured what better person to bring on than Rachel Harrison's son. So thanks for joining us, Rachel.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be speaking with you guys.
Yeah. So I was mentioning before we went live that we're all in different areas as far as having kids. I know, Rachel, your kids are much younger than mine and Nuria's.
Yes, I've got an almost 6-year-old daughter, and then I've got a son who just turned 3 last week. So I'm like not right in the thick of it, but I'm still like in the heart of having young children. So yeah.
That's about the ages mine were when I was starting to run a business, and it's hard sometimes. It's really hard.
Yeah, it is. It's really difficult to balance, just wear all the hats, keep all the plates spinning. It can be a challenge for sure.
Yeah.
What are some things that you would suggest for people? Because I know it seems like, especially on my channel, I get a lot of comments from people who authors or people that want to be authors. They want to publish that first book. And many times it's a children's book for my channel, and they have kids, and they just don't. They're trying to get ideas for ways that they can kind of juggle it all, like you said. Keep all the plates spinning and finding time, because that's one of the biggest arguments I hear people say is, I don't have time to do it, and I really think it comes down to just finding the time. But what do you guys think? What are some suggestions that you have for people that might be in that that boat, and whether it's books or what other type of business that they're doing, trying to balance that work-life balance?
For me, I think one of the biggest gifts you can give yourself is just that gift of grace. Like, if we can just accept where we are right now, like, hey, I have this business, but I'm also a mom or a dad, and maybe I just don't have 8 hours a day right now. Maybe I've got 5, maybe I've got 3, maybe I've got 1, and that's okay. I'm still a human being with human needs. And I think oftentimes, we just forget to give ourselves that allowance. And it's okay if something's going to take a little bit longer than it might if you were a single person, just flying solo, and you had those before kids. I remember I would sit down on my computer, 8 hours would go by, I'd have a quick break, and then I'd be back there for another 5 hours, and I could work till midnight, no big deal. And you just can't do those things when you've got kids at home. So I think just kind of like really accepting the season of life that you're in at the moment, and then just like giving yourself that grace, I think goes a long way to just removing some of that stress and recognizing like we can all go at our own pace here. It's not a race. I can still achieve my goals. It might take a little bit longer. That's totally okay. So that, I think, is my biggest tip, is to just like really accept what season you're in right now and give yourself that allowance. Because when you're all stressed out trying to be in like a race or something with someone else, that just creates all of this undue stress. And then I think you become less creative and less productive anyways. So it might feel counterintuitive to actually try and slow it down and just go at your own pace. But I think ultimately you'll get there a little bit faster, because you're not putting that undue stress and pressure on yourself.
That's very good advice. I think as mums, we always put so much pressure on ourselves anyway, when we keep thinking we have to do better, we have to do this, we have to do that. And I think what you said is exactly the best advice ever, because it's not a race, it's up to us. And I always thought, my kids come first, whatever happens, never mind the business or whatever, they come first. But at the same time, you have to run your business and be productive and all the rest. And what I found really helpful at the time, this was a while ago, so it wasn't an online business. I used to have a language school when I was living in Spain. And I remember the best thing for me was to ask for help. Like, my parents were there, so they used to pick up the children from school and have them for a while I was teaching or doing whatever I was doing. And then they used to return them. So that was really good. So I think another good advice would be to just ask for help and get as many people to help as possible, and not be ashamed about it. Because I think, it's so true when they say children are brought up by a whole village. And that was very much the case when I lived there. And there were so many aunties and uncles that could help. That was really nice. So, and I know that's not something that everybody can have the benefit of, but as much as you can, even if it's just friends or someone who can help and lend a hand, that's always welcome, I think. So
yeah, that's definitely a huge thing, the asking for help, and not just at home too, in your business. I think a lot of us, we do everything ourselves in our business. And I think most of us do everything ourselves for far too long. I think we should take someone on, a virtual assistant or something at the very least, even if it's 2 hours a week in the beginning. You should probably do that before you think you need to, because by the time you're really feeling like, oh my gosh, I need help, I feel like at that point you've gone a little bit past the time when you should have brought someone on. And I know it's scary to relinquish some of these things, especially if you're a perfectionist or, a bit of a control freak. It can be hard to pass off some of those tasks. But I remember the first thing that I delegated was managing my inbox. And that just suddenly freed up like an hour a day. And, going through email, that can be quite mentally draining when you're having to respond to every single person. And, not all the emails that you get are pleasant emails. So there's a lot of mental energy that goes into just maintaining an inbox every day. So for me, that was just like this huge sigh of relief. And now it's, when there's emails that are specific to me, they get assigned to me. So I only look at a couple of emails a week usually, because my VA just handles that for me. And it's just been a massive relief. And that's given me back an hour a day, which of course then I can be using on ideas to make money or something like that.
Right.
So yeah, delegation at home and in the business, I think that's a really good tip.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think getting back to what you were saying before, Rachel, I think a big part of it is for people to, like you were saying, give themselves that grace, understand that you're not in competition with anybody else. Like your journey is different. Like my journey is different than Nuria's and different than yours. And like you said, that's okay. I think it comes down to more, both in life and in business, more about being consistent than just trying to do it all yourself or trying to outpace somebody else, because it's not something that you'll be able to sustain.
Yeah, consistency really is key. I mean, it's that whole slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah.
It's so true. It doesn't matter if you're going slower than everyone else. If you just keep at it, even if it's just 2 hours a week, you will get there eventually. And that time is going to pass anyways. So if those 5 years are going to go by anyway, well, I'd rather at the end of those 5 years to have built something that I'm proud of than to just never have done it, because I would have thought, well, it's going to take me 5 years.
Right.
That time's going to pass regardless.
Right.
So yeah, that's something that's been very helpful for me, especially as I have my children. And, when I launched my first online course, that took 9 months. I was creating that while my daughter was napping, in these sporadic hour-long intervals, if I was lucky. And, I had initially set a goal to have that thing launched in 12 weeks and 9 months went by. It could have been an invitation for me to quit, but I knew no, if I just keep chipping away, it will get there eventually. And it did. And obviously I'm very, very happy that I did keep at it. But yeah, consistency definitely is a huge part of it.
Absolutely. I think it's just, and also you were saying you were doing the course while your daughter was napping, and the other good thing is they go to school sometimes. So when they get to that age where they finally go to school, you kind of think, oh, I've got more time now. And then it turns out you don't really have more time, but it just feels like you have more time then. Yeah. And And then when the holidays come and they're at home, you've got the whole problem all over again, where you have to readapt to having them at home. And Keith, you must be having that with your grandchildren as well now.
Yeah. We watch our grandkids 4 or 5 days a week. And so, yeah, it really comes down to, I think, again, going back to the slow and steady, knowing that you're, planning ahead, being as proactive as you can. So, your kids are going to be going on holiday for Christmas or whatever. Then how are you going to handle that? Where are you going to find those time slots? And knowing it ahead of time rather than just trying to figure it out when it gets there is a lot easier. If you wait until the time comes, then you're kind of being reactive instead of being proactive. And so, yeah, I mean, I still am I'm actually able to get more stuff done on days when I'm with the kids than on days when I'm not, sometimes, because I've planned it out that way. Because if I know I've got kids, then I know there's no doctor's appointments or anything like that. And so when I'm not with them, I'm able to really streamline my business. And then when I am with them, I'm with them 100%. I'm not on my phone or anything like that. So it really, again, comes down to planning ahead and again, consistency. Consistency doesn't mean you have to do the same thing every day. It just means that you have to have a plan and know what you're going to do. So that way, you're not just wasting time. Because many times before I did checklists and things like that, I would do busy work. You're keeping busy and doing something that's actually moving the needle on your business are two different things sometimes.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. Yeah. And you do have to treat it like a real business. Like if you were going into a job, and your kids were going to be home on holiday for 2 weeks, you would have to come up with a plan.
Right.
You couldn't just wing that.
Exactly.
You'd have to call your boss and say, okay, here's my reality for the next 2 weeks. What are the hours? So I think they oftentimes treat their business as if it's just a hobby, when really it's like everything that we would be doing if we were going into a workplace as an employee. We have to do that for ourselves and more. We have to kind of be our own CEO, our own supervisor, and we
Right.
kind of have to treat everything in that manner.
Yeah. That it can mean there's more pressure on us sometimes as well. Because I remember, because it was my own business, I felt more under pressure. It was like,
Oh yeah.
I have to do this. I have to.
Right.
And I don't have to, in the sense that, I can do it tomorrow and nothing will happen. But for some reason, when that's your only income as well, and you're thinking, if I don't make this work, then I don't, what would the alternative be? So
Right.
that puts added pressure on you as well. And it just depends also on your situation, whether your partner, your husband or your wife, whoever, if they're supportive of that as well. Because I know a lot of people, I get a lot of people, and it's quite sad, because they say that their other half isn't supportive of what they're doing. And that is then so much more difficult as well, because without that support, it's really hard. Without that, some of them are telling me they're doing it, but their other half wishes that they were getting a regular job or a regular, I guess what they want is an income that they can rely on. And what we're doing sometimes, when you're starting a business, it's not always that reliable at first, and all different things can happen. So I think support from your family is very important as well, again. And that's what I think is lacking sometimes as well. Have you come across that? People writing to you saying, I'd love to do it, but I'm not getting the support from
unfortunately, it's really common. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have the support of my husband. When I first told him I was doing this side hustle of self-publishing, and then I was going to go out on my own and do this course, it's like I could tell that he was concerned, but I was fortunate enough that he was like, okay, let's see if you got this. And I could tell he was a little bit hesitant, but ultimately he did support me. And anytime I come up with one of these ideas, it gets easier every time. Now I'm at the point where whatever the weird idea is, he's just like, okay, you've proven it by this point. You've got this, I know. So I'm really fortunate in that regard. both of us work from home. So, even if the kids are home, it's, we like I'll work in the morning and he'll work in the afternoon or vice versa. So I'm extremely fortunate that I've got such a great support system, because I know not everyone does. And that makes a huge difference. Just having even one person believe in your ideas can make all of the difference. So it's I think for anyone that doesn't have that kind of support at home, it makes it even more important to go out, and even if it's people online, like if you can find some sort of maybe local like business meetup or something online, a mastermind or something where you can at least get just at least one person who's on that similar path to you, or just is in that, kind of like on that same frequency that you're on. That can make such a huge difference if you just have at least one person in your life that really understands what you're doing and will support you. That's incredibly important, especially if you don't have those people in your life, on a personal level.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just like you guys, I'm really lucky that I've got a spouse that's super supportive and doesn't necessarily understand everything that I do, but is behind me regardless. But yeah, I agree that if you don't have that at home, know that there's an online, world out there in, whether it's a Facebook group or, Rachel Harrison's son has a great channel, Nuria's Home Boss channel, my channel, this channel, whatever, there are people out there that are in the same boat as you are and are willing to believe in you. And, if you don't think of everybody as your competition, we're kind of all in this together, that you might be able to find that support that you might not be getting in quote unquote IRL in the real world.
It's great for business too. When you make all of these new connections, suddenly you find different ways to collaborate with one another, or, become an affiliate or whatever. Since I got out there and started joining masterminds and things like that, like I've met so many just amazing people. And there's just all of these new opportunities open up when you meet new people, and, oh, wow, you're doing this. Oh, that sounds really similar to what I'm doing. Maybe we can do a collaboration, or, sometimes it's turned into new income streams because there's affiliate opportunities that suddenly open up. So it's kind of this, just this whole other world of support and friendship and business opportunity that opens up.
Because like technically the three of us, we technically are competitors, right? No, we're all in this together, and that's how we've all met each other, through masterminds and other people that kind of connected us, and just, now, I'm affiliates for your course, and, and actually both of your courses, Rachel's and Nuria's, and vice versa. So yeah, you're absolutely, even if you're not getting that from your spouse or your family or your friends, you don't have to be doing this alone. This, especially if you've got kids and you really have that added pressure where it's really easy to quit or to not even really get started. You've got great ideas, but you don't believe enough in yourself, and you're not getting the support that you need. Just know that there's other places out there that you can reach out to that can give you that extra spark of support that you might need.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to do it alone. Like I remember when I first got into online business, I thought, oh, this is the introvert's paradise, right? I don't actually, I can just put on my headphones, be behind my computer. I don't actually need to talk to anyone. And then as you get going and realize, oh, this is a business. Oh, I actually have to reach out and form relationships and talk to people and network. And so it wasn't exactly what I originally thought it might be. And of course, it's been wonderful. Just opening myself up to all those new possibilities. I've learned a lot about myself, and it's been fun. Like it's been really fun getting to know all of these different people. But yeah, we're not islands. We just can't do it alone.
No, I totally agree with that, because I never thought I'd be doing this, never in a million years. But you think of yourself as being a particular kind of person, and then when you're doing this kind of thing, you're not. You're learning so many other things, and you kind of, I don't know. For me, it was a big learning curve, but again, like you, it was a lot of fun, and I really enjoy this, and I'm so happy I found this. And I think if I had small children now, I think I would be, well, it's hard to say because I've got more experience now. So I don't know if someone's listening and they've got children and they're just starting this, then I would say what Rachel said at the beginning is really important. You know, it's not a race. It's just, you just do it in your own time. And Keith has been saying that in many of our previous episodes, you know, it's not a race, and you just have to kind of prioritize things, and you're not competing with anybody. And I think that is the best advice, really, because it's as long as you're doing something every day, you've done something,
Right.
and you've done something important. So it's not, you know, it's not, it can be overwhelming, but it's not too much. I think it can be handled. You just have to relax about it and think, okay, even if I just do a tiny bit today, that's something that I've done today. And if I do that consistently, then, you know, that pushes the needle forward. And yeah, I totally agree with what both of you have said. And I think that's because we've been through it and we know now.
Right.
Whereas
Well,
at the
I'll tell
beginning, you just don't know.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing that for those people who are just now starting out, I think that there's no better time in the world than now, because you can do almost anything on your phone, you know. And so you can, you know, I remember having the little kids, and like I said, I've got the grandbabies now. So you know, sometimes the only time you can get any kind of work done is 5 minutes locking yourself in a bathroom, but you can get work done. You know, you laugh because you know you've both had that time, you know.
Yeah, you better have a
And
lock
so,
on that door because they'll be
yeah,
barging in 30 seconds.
exactly. You see the little fingers come out from underneath. Yeah.
The bathroom is
But
not a safe zone at this house, that's for sure.
Yeah.
it's absolutely not. But yes, but you can do amazing things on your phone. You know, you can do Canva on your phone. You can do you know, you can write books, whether it's in, you know, Google Docs or whatever, and just get little things done. Like you were saying, Nuri, a little bit every day. Because again, like we've said before, you're not in competition with anybody else. You know, it's all about, you know, getting things done, being consistent, 5 minutes a day. If that's all you have, then that's all it takes, you know. And obviously it's gonna take you longer to get there than if you had, you know, more time, but you can still get there as long as you just keep going. I've said it numerous times on, you know, in different episodes, but the biggest difference I've seen between people who succeed and those who don't is the ones that don't quit before they got there. You know, it's just, and I know that's easier said than done. You know, it's very easy, especially if you're not getting that support from somewhere else. It's very easy to not see the money coming in like you expected, because you see these commercials on YouTube or whatever, where people tell you, oh, you can make you know, $10,000 a month in 3 easy steps and stuff like that. That's not going to happen, you know. You know, and so unfortunately, you know, they're just trying to sell something. You know, we're trying to give you advice that's realistic. And so again, I really think just sticking with it, finding what time that you do have, because I don't think I've seen many people work their life away and not spend time with the kids, and you know, and you need to find that work-life balance, because one, you'll burn out otherwise, but also they don't stay that little for long, trust me. And so, you know, it's again just finding the time that you have and making the most of it.
I think too, another huge one is recognizing what are the tasks that are actually going to move things forward versus what's busy work. So when we've got limited time, it's really important to be able to, you know, when you don't have much time to work with, to really just understand what are the most important things to be focused on and kind of forget about all of the rest. Because I think oftentimes we can get caught up in this busy work that makes us feel like we're being productive, but it's not work that's actually going to move the needle forward. You know, maybe we're obsessing over a logo or thinking like, oh, do we need business cards? Which of course nobody uses business cards anymore. Or just like fussing over the website or something, when really we should be focused on what is going to get money coming through the door as quickly as possible, because that of course is the main focus of any business, is to turn a profit. And of course, you know, we don't want that to be the only thing and all of that, but if you don't have that, then you don't really have a business. So I think getting really clear on like what are the core tasks that are going to move that needle forward, and just kind of forget about the rest. Like when I first got going, I slapped up my website in like 3 hours. I used the only professional photos I had were of me on my wedding day. So I used those, and I didn't get married in white, so it wasn't like obvious that they were my wedding photos, but I was just working with what I had because it was like, my baby's napping. She's going to be awake in 20 minutes. I just don't have this time. And that was really hard for me because come from a professional design background. So I'm used to really perfecting everything design wise that I put out there. So at this point, it's almost like a point of shame because I've had to really neglect, I've still got that old website up there, and sales pages that I've put up, I would never have put those, they would never have seen the light of day had I, created those while I was working in the agency, because they're just like not up to my standard. But I knew that those, spending another few hours fussing over those weren't probably going to make a big difference in my bottom line. Right. So I just had to kind of put that to the side. Now I'm at this place where I'm starting to revisit all of those things, and, design is one of my beauty and design. That is one of my top values. And it is something that I really want to have at the forefront of my brand. But this is now like a few years in. It's not something that I would have and didn't focus on at the beginning. So I think just being really clear on what's the most important, what is going to move you forward the quickest at the time is going to be really, really important, just in terms of making the most of the time that you've got.
And like you said, you have to kind of learn as well. It just, in time, you learn how to prioritize, you learn how to kind of juggle the kids and everything else. And it just takes time, like anything. I remember when I first started, and what you just said kind of brought back memories, when you're obsessing over a logo or over something, whereas now we know, oh, that wasn't that important, you should have been doing something else. But you don't know when you're first starting, and you just kind of learn to juggle everything around. But the other thing I thought about when you've got kids as well is to involve them in the business. Sometimes you can do that, obviously not if they're tiny things, but the older they get, you can kind of involve them a little bit and get them to draw you a poster for the business or something like that. And that sometimes keeps them busy if you're lucky. Not always, doesn't always work.
Yeah, it's great because you can even kind of plant that entrepreneurial seed in them as well. Right. When they can see the direct result of their work and, attaching that to, oh, there's like a monetary outcome to this. Right. That could potentially set them down an entrepreneurial path of their own. Mm-hmm. So I think, it's great for you, but it can be a great learning opportunity for them as well.
Yeah. And even, with that example, even if they're not, if they're 3 or 6, like, like yours are, they might not make, obviously make the best posters, that you're going to put up on your website. But those images, honestly, are the kind of images that I include in my newsletters that my subscribers absolutely love, and so again, it's keeping them busy, but it's actually still helping your business, by just finding interesting ways to add them into the thread that you're working on.
Yeah, it does help to add like a personal dimension, especially if you're someone that's building a personal brand. Right. People want to have a little peek behind the curtain and see that you are a real human being, right, and you've got a family, and those are the things that we just relate to as human beings. So it's always great when we can see a little bit more of a personal side to anyone that we're following online. So that's great. I can't wait till my children are a little bit older and can actually help me, instead of just barging in on me while I'm on a Zoom call or something like that.
Well, you say that, my daughter does my social media now, so that's great.
Oh, I would love that. That's always been sort of the bane of my existence. Social media has just never done it for me. And if I never had to do anything on social media, I would be happy.
I'm right there with you, Rachel, because other than YouTube and some of my Facebook groups, that's about it. Like, I'm on Twitter or whatever they call it, X, whatever, and Instagram and Pinterest and all that other stuff. But I really don't. It doesn't do anything for me. I love YouTube, but other than that, like the social media, that's one of the first things I'm going to have my VA working on.
Yeah. For me, it's just been fits and starts for like years. Okay, I'm doing it this time. And then like I'll do videos for like 3 months, and then and then it stops for a bit, and then I'm back at it again. And I'm in another lull right now, and I'm about to pick it back up again. So
And that happens to me a lot. I'm always
Yeah.
in lulls. Well, I'm finding it now. I've moved as well. It's like hard to get back into it. When you've got kids, sometimes things happen. It's hard to get back into it. That happens all the time as well. So
keeping all those plates spinning, right? One of the
Yeah.
plates drops and smashes, and then it takes a while to grab that plate, start spinning it again.
Yes,
But I
especially.
think. No, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, especially with Q4 coming up, I know that's is on everybody's mind right now. And that means kids are going to be coming home, and, from school, they're going to be off for a couple weeks usually, or whatever. It's definitely even harder to kind of keep those things all spinning.
Yeah. And it is a lot of just the mental aspect of it. Like, when at the end of the day, it's not like a regular job where when you clock out, that's kind of it, and then you're at home. Like when you have a business and you're the one strategizing and thinking, coming up with the ideas, and how are we going to do that? Like, you're kind of thinking about it around the clock.
Yeah.
It's there.
You don't just turn it off.
No. So there's a whole lot more, just the mental load, I think, is so much greater when you run your own business, because you're always kind of thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like, it's really important to come up with these sort of like well-defined containers around my work. I may not be able to shut the brain off, but for me, I know that I start at 9 o'clock and I end at 5 or 5:30, and then I'm done. Like, I really try to keep those containers. So I really do treat it like a regular work day, where I've got clearly defined hours, clearly defined break times, and it is like a regular routine. I'm not trying to cram it in around everything else. I know that this is my time, and then I know at come 5:30, I'm done, I'm out. And then I try to have some buffer time as well, so I'm not like walking straight from my desk downstairs to the kitchen and now I'm doing dinner. Like, when you have a job, there's usually that buffer time. Like, you either get on a subway or you get in your car, and then you've got like 20 minutes of just being alone, or listening to something, on headphones. When you're at home, there's no like clear divider between work and home life often. So that can be really stressful if you're just going from one thing to the other with none of that buffer time in between. So I think that's another good tip. If you can, what I like to do is I'll pack up at work and I'll just go lay on my bed for like 10 minutes, just 10 minutes of some breathing and just relaxation. It's not a lot of time, but it really does make a difference to just like quickly recalibrate. Okay, and now I'm going downstairs and I'll get dinner going, and then it's, baths and bedtime and all that kind of stuff. But it's really stressful when you're just going from one thing to the other. Like, you get up, you get the kids ready, then you go in your office, then you're working, and then you're making dinner. And then it's like, wow, I've started at 7 and now it's like 9 o'clock at night. And now I'm just getting my first kind of real break of the day.
Right.
And
then you wake up to do it all over again. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's easy to let those things slide and kind of get into that routine when you work from home. So I think that's very important as well. It's just creating that container around your workday, and giving yourself some of that buffer time, even if it's like 5 minutes, just something where you can just completely unplug, just a few deep breaths, and just recalibrate and get yourself prepared for whatever's coming next.
Very true. Yeah, I'm still working on that.
Yeah, it's not easy.
It's not. It's not. But that's a great tip. We've talked about that before, but yeah, that's a really good tip to remember, to set boundaries for yourself as far as your work day, and like you said, you're not necessarily always going to turn it off, with your business, but at least some very clear cut, cutting off times, giving yourself some quiet time, regardless of how long or short that may be, just so you can kind of refresh yourself to see, to move on to the rest of your day.
Yes, very important.
Well, this has been another great mastermind, Nuria, and thank you, Rachel, for joining us. Once again, a huge thank you to all our listeners and viewers who came to tag along. If you enjoyed today's mastermind, please consider following or subscribing to the podcast, and maybe even leave us a review and let us know what you thought. Until next week, I'm Keith Wheeler.
I'm Nuria Kobi.
Thanks for having me, guys.
You're
Thanks,
very
Rachel.
welcome.
Thanks for joining the Mastermind today. Be sure to follow the podcast on your platform of choice and tell a friend who would enjoy it too. Your support is greatly appreciated. This has been the Masterminding Success Podcast.